bienvenue à notre première conférence du nouveau cycle. Alors, je suis très contente de vous retrouver ici ce soir et aussi de commencer avec Elisa Valero pour notre premier cycle. Mais laissez-moi en fait quelques minutes pour vous introduire ce nouveau cycle et je me permettrai de lire ce qu'on a avec tous les comités écrits pour relancer les cycles des conférences de la Maison de l'Architecture. Alors, on s'est posé une question assez large et on est parti d'un mot, en fait, energia, energeia, en grec, ce qui pour nous voulait rassembler toutes les forces en action qu'on doit mettre et qu'on utilise dans notre travail en tant qu'architecte et ingénieur. Et en fait, ce qui nous intéressait, c'est vraiment toute forme de force, qu'elle soit naturelle ou intellectuelle, qu'on met pour donner forme à notre créativité. Bien évidemment, la question de l'énergie ou des énergies, elle se pose depuis longtemps. De quelle manière on transforme notre territoire, de quelle manière on intervient, de quelle manière on utilise nos forces et les énergies, de quelle manière on consomme l'énergie. Mais ce qui nous intéressait le plus, c'est vraiment l'élan et toute la force qu'on va mettre dans notre action pour rendre meilleur notre environnement. Et c'est pour ça qu'on a pensé à toute une série d'invités. Et j'aimerais vous les lister. Donc, il y a Elisa Valero, qui est mon collègue Frédéric, elle va introduire. Il y aura Emily Ding, Anne Eringer, Roma Agraval, Barbara Buser, Nina Rapaport, Livia Bove, Amalie Andros et Ginny Gang, qui viendront parler avec nous, avec vous, des énergies et de l'énergie. Voilà, merci et je laisse la parole à Frédéric.
Merci Barbara. Donc bonsoir et bienvenue. Donc comme tu l'as dit, nous avons l'immense plaisir ce soir d'accueillir Elisa Valero, architecte et professeure ordinaire d'architecture. Après des études d'architecture à Valladolid et l'obtention de son doctorat à Grenade, Elisa Valero a commencé à enseigner à l'Université nationale autonome du Mexique, avec un premier projet, la réhabilitation du restaurant Los Manantiales, pour les hispaniques, bâtiment iconique en forme de coque de l'architecte Félix Candela. En 1997, Elisa Valero débute son aventure d'indépendante dans son studio d'architecture à Grenade, où elle exerce aujourd'hui encore. Professeure ordinaire d'architecture depuis 2012, elle est également lauréate de nombreux prix nationaux et internationaux. Elle obtient la mention honorable 2016 du prix Arc Vision, Women et Architecture. Elle est la première femme à remporter le Swiss Architectural Award en 2017-2018. L'année suivante, elle obtient la mention spéciale du prix des femmes architectes à Paris. Le travail d'Elisa Valero résonne parfaitement, avec justesse, avec le thème de ce cycle de conférences, de par le soin particulier qu'elle porte aux paramètres de la lumière dans l'architecture, créant une atmosphère distincte dans ses projets. En effet, son travail offre une place prépondérante à ces éléments intangibles qu'est la lumière, confrontés à un jeu d'espace et de géométrie. L'église de Playa Granada, l'agrandissement du collège Maresana à Grenade ou encore les 8 habitations expérimentales à Grenade en sont de magnifiques exemples. Sans plus attendre, Elisa, je te laisse donc la parole et je te remercie chaleureusement d'avoir accepté notre invitation. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. It's my first time in this city and I'm very happy. And to be here with all of you to share what is my passion, what is my work, what is my way of doing things, of what is more or less my vision of architecture. And it's a pleasure to be, because I'm very much used to be with students, but now I am with colleagues, with my peers, with my equals, people who is also fighting with the same things. And I think that sharing with you, it's a good thing, because today I'm here, maybe tomorrow you are here and we can share. And I will try, well, first of all, excuse me for not speaking French. If something my English is not very good and if something is not clear, just tell me and I will repeat. Well, first, because I don't want to forget it, is that 3 years ago, when I got this Swiss Architectural Award, I asked myself what I was doing, why was this prize, and then I brought a small book called The Theory of Diamond, that que now is in French, and Théorie de Diamant, el proyecto de arquitectura, to explain my vision of architecture, the way of understanding this project that at the same time is solving problem, architecture is solving problem, and at the same time we need beauty to do the life more, well, possible to live. No, if not, it's too hard. And then beauty help us to live better. And then how can we have all these things together? Thinking that the most hard stone is the empty space, as we are here. It's this empty space, and how we architect work with this stone of the empty space as the people who cut the diamonds. And then this is a very, 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 very small, is there. Then later I will show you, it's like a very thing, but it's in French. And it's a good French because the translation has been a poet who translated the book into French, a professor of Paris, La Sorbonne. Then I think it will be okay. Then the first thing I want to share with you is something that to me is now the most important thing for my work, is this environmental commitment. You know, I feel something that, well, when Frederick told that I was in the last century refurnishing Felix Candela, working in Mexico last century, I feel myself very old. My students think that maybe I'm a dinosaur, working in the last century. Okay, yes, in the last century I was working in Mexico, and I was sure that architecture was solving problem, but I had not, I thought it was just the specific problems of the client. But nowadays, I feel we have, all of us, a very big problem, is that this environmental crisis, this climate change, something that maybe we have to, I feel that we, engineers and architects, all who are working in this planet, changing the territory, changing all these things, we are very much to blame for what is happening. And sometimes we were not aware of what we are doing something wrong, maybe. But now we feel that is something wrong. We have too much overexploit this planet, this small resource. And sometimes I feel that architecture is not something for nostalgics, looking at the past. And I have to tell you that I've been for a long time working in monuments and looking at the past. And 20 years ago, I thought it was just, okay, it was the only thing. But now, in these last years, I feel that it's not enough. And we have short time. And then I want to share with you this worry, this concern. The future depends on us. And then I'm trying my best to change things. And, well, I must to tell you that it's not easy. But I will show you what I'm trying to do. And maybe you have better ideas and you can go further. And if you think that's something, we can share experience to this. Well, I feel that the planet needs us. Need us because we destroy so quick. Because last century, 20th century, that has been very interesting. We have developed so many things, but the planet we thought it was possible with technology, doing everything was possible. The man can go to the moon, everything was possible. But now, what are we going to do when we have so many waste, so many destruction? We are destroying so much. And this is my first work. And we are a very familiar place to Felix Candela. This was the rehabilitation of this work, as you told, in the 96 of the last century. And when I arrived there, well, I was very young. It was just, of course, very young. I was 24 years old, and it was my first work. It was my first work, and then I learned from this work that it was possible to do more with less. It was possible using, because it's very thin, it's just, well, we have to tell you that in Mexico, the climate is very, very nice, and it's never cold and it's never too hot. It was very easy to, we don't have this high change of climate that could do it harder to live there. But it was possible to do more with less. It was possible, and the reason was to save money, because Mexico was a poor country. It was going to save money. But nowadays, we need to save this same, not just money, because here you are in a very rich country, but we need to save the resource of this planet, because it's just one for all of us, and then we have to share. This is the common home, the common house. And for that, I feel that my work now is a ethic for rebels, but not rebels that we are in a violent way going to say that, no, to go outside with, it's very important, this exhibition you have here of the climate change. But our work is different. We have to work in a positive way to build, not to go against anything, but to build in a positive way. And also with a very realistic approach. I think that at least the architecture I need to do is very important to be in the reality, to understand well, to use, as Mutoni says, the common sense, and to work with common sense. We need to understand very well where is the problem, and to try to solve the problem in the simplest way. For that, and also for this saving energy, that is maybe the problem of the planet nowadays. It's funny because I think that, for a long time we thought that, we use so much air condition, and it's necessary for sure. But I feel that now I want my architecture to be conditioned, not with the A, but conditioned, depending on the place where you are, depending on the nature, depending on what you have, to trying to reduce the energy and reduce the materials. And then with this realistic approach, I am working in the poorest place of my country, the poorest place of Spain, that is the south of Spain, just in front of Africa. And then if we want to change the way of doing things, we have to change the technology. We have to change the culture of building. And this is very important. I know that you now in Switzerland, you have now a wonderful program of about culture. And I am very, I think that I would like to export this to Spain, because I think it's very important, this culture of doing things in the right way. And well, we have to change this technology, and for a long time, I tried my best to change the way of doing things and to invent, to design, to develop new ways of doing things. Well, I must tell you that from more than 20 years, we design and calculate the structures in my office, and it goes together like the bones in the body. The structures grow up with the body, and it's not something that comes later. And in this case, we research with concrete, because concrete is the cheapest material that we can use in a place with very high seismic degree, Granada. And then we work with concrete, but also we need to do as Candela to save, to reduce the amount of material we work with. And then in this case, we were trying to do some prefabricate with insulation inside. And working with an engineer that developed the system Elle, we built this extension of a school. That was the first time that I did something of research with this new system. This was very simple because it was a wall of concrete, and in the inside, we used just the two exterior walls, exterior sides, where are the iron. We connect both sides, both facade, and inside, because this inside concrete doesn't work, then inside I change for insulation. So I have a structure and nothing else. The problem was that it was not possible to build this because it was a very poor school. And I tried to do it with iron, and it was not possible because it was too expensive. The price of this, you can see here, all this is the insulation. All this is the insulation, and just 5 centimeters, as I learned from Candela, just 5 or 6 centimeters in the outside was the working material, the working structure. Well, it was my first experience with this. As always, that you do something that is the first time in your life, that it's like an experiment. I failed in a lot of things. They are very happy, I have to tell you that. But I discovered a lot of the problems you can find when it's the first time you are doing something in a new way. But if you don't want to fail, never try a new thing. Neither, not cooking. No, never. But here you can see how is the system. You can see that it's very poor. This is the insulation. Then it was shotcrete outside and here. Well, some of you can say it's very ugly. I must tell you that the final price was 86,000 euros. 86,000 euros. Not, you are thinking one more zero. No, not one more zero. 86,000 euros. And the inside is this space that is not a small one. And everything is finished like this because we could reduce very much because everything was inside the structure. And then it was not necessary to finish, to paint. I must to tell you, this was not a cultural decision. They don't choose this because being radical cultural. No, I did this because they had no money. When they got money, they paint it. They paint in white. When they got more money, or the father of one children put some plastic in the inside. You know, they It was just to solve the problem, and I am happy. And then change and paint. They got money. They don't want to look poor. We don't feel that we are poor if we are in this space. And this is the side. This is myself, and I am tall. And you can see that it's not a small space. It's quite a big space. This big space with the new stair, because the problem of this school is that without this space, they were going to close the school because it was not in the law, because it was necessary to have 2 different stairs for evacuation in case of fire and all these things. And now if you go there, as I tell you, it's now rich. It's painted in white and inside with a lot of materials. I learned a lot. And I think that's something that is very interesting. Well, these windows have these holes because in the outside is the football play to play football, and then it was necessary the children not to crash the windows, and then it was necessary to do something, but also it was good to protect from the light and to avoid problems. Well, this is low technology, very low technology with what we have. Well, concrete is the second most used material in the world because it's very cheap and it's available, and you can find them in Tangier, in Africa, and any point of the Mediterranean. It's very easy to work with it. I think that the problem is that it's not very sustainable, and then we have to change it. And to do it, and I look at you because I know you are working with concrete and with very good experts in concrete, and I want you to translate what I am telling, is that how are we going to do? We have to change it. It's not possible to change this material in the way of, we cannot ask people, please build with timber. How can we build with timber in a place where we don't have water to plant the trees? We cannot bring the trees from Switzerland. We cannot bring the trees from Germany or from the north of Europe, where you have so many water that is easy. But in all this area is not possible, so we need to use this material. But we need to change the material to reduce the carbon print of this material. And then I try to do things in a new way. And I work in the port of Motril for a long time. It's very hard because it's a very young port. And the good thing is that they trust us. And then we have developed a system for this pavilion working with concrete without iron, just with fiber reinforced concrete, with plastic fibers. My goal in the future is to use recycled plastic to put inside the concrete, but now it's just special plastics, special fibers. And then we were designing a new way of doing things because this kind of materials can save a lot of material because you can reduce a lot because you don't have to protect. What is the main problem of concrete? Corrosion. And then if you don't need to protect the iron, you can reduce very much and have just what you need to work. And then with 5-6 centimeters is enough. I reduce quite a lot the carbon print. And also, because of this, the life of the building is longer. And then, this is the first building. I must tell you, one of the fail of the first school I show you, it was the acoustic. If you design a box of concrete, it's not possible to be inside. It was a failure. And then I was very happy when they start to put inside things to avoid, but it was a failure, and then I learned not to design in this way, and I learned, because we learn of the mistakes. I think that it could be very interesting if someday I can come here not to show you the good things, but the things that usually we don't show is where are my mistakes. My mistake here was acoustic. The other things were okay, but the problem was acoustic. My mistake here was another one, but this is not the day. You asked me to talk about energy and good things, and maybe you will be very disappointed if I come here to tell you about my mistakes. But as we are all peers, we are all architects, I think that to share these things is something that any of you will be surprised of the mistakes of these new things. Okay, trying to do things, then this is the first building I think in Europe, nobody said, that has a structural panel of concrete without iron. The only place where I have iron, and is because at the moment I have not learned enough, but I am trying to do it, is for the connection with the slab of the horizontal slabs. And just in the connection, in the top and in the bottom and in the top, is the only place where I use iron for you, because of seismic problems. And then is what I have not learned, but this is why I have a research on this. I have not the dry joints. This is something that maybe Mutoni and your friends will help me with the dry joints in seismic areas. But maybe we have to talk later. And then you can see here one of these small pavilions. This design was a prototype, and then you can use in different. And I have built 2 buildings with the same very, very simple panel, 2 kinds of panels, and 2 different buildings. Excuse me, because this is wrong. This is one of the buildings. These are windows. And it's very important to work with the geometry to avoid the water going in. This is not casual. In fact, geometry, the form, is always a way of solving problems. This is one of the buildings. Also, we like this idea of the rhythm, el ritmo, the rhythm, because we like this idea of working with the shadow, avoiding this, and also because it makes it very abstract, because it's very small. And being so abstract, you don't know if it's big or small, if there is not a person in the door. Here, you can see how small it is, but if not. And this is the other one, a small one, and one is an office, and the other is for a scan of lorries. But I am talking about concrete, talking about something, the heaviest thing, the structure, the heaviest things. But I think it's very important that we must worry when we talk about energy, not only about the heaviest thing, but also about the lightest thing, about light. And I think that light is very important for this living, for this making easy the life. And then I bring you here one of my favorite projects. Is not one of the last one, but is a work for is a work for Plácido Arango, who was mecena, un coleccionista de arte, ¿cómo se diría? Coleccionista de arte. And then this is a gallery of art in his own house. His house was separate with 2 different buildings in a wonderful place. But the problem is that it was not internal connection. And then he wanted to do something. And he was thinking in a kind of pavilion. And then I project this. This was the original place, a wonderful garden in a wonderful place. This house and this one, and this was the garden. I think that there is a problem, but because it's not so wide, it has a kind of deformation. And then the project was just like this. To cross the garden inside, it is just an invisible intervention. From the outside, nothing happens, and you can cross the garden. And it was very important how to do the light, how to control the light when what you are going to have is kind of museum, because Plácido Arango has been the president of the Museum of Prado and has one of the most important collections of art of Spain. I think this is the third most important collection of art of Spain. And then we did this hall, and then we prepared this in the inside. And we studied a lot. This is the connection, the beginning of the first, this is in the inside of the first house. And then you go down. Of course, you also have to live. This is my only rich client in all my life. But I thought that maybe here it was a good place to share with you this. But I have to tell you that the other ones, and is my family, my friends, all of them, low cost. Okay, and then we could do this, and then it was like a sculpture, and each of these, and I like to say that sometimes it's like a Stradivarius case, because one of these pieces, the cost of just one of these pieces is more than all the architecture. Yes, because I know how much one of this one that looks so normal, not normal. But you can see Murillos, Turbaranes, de todo. Tapies, Zuloaga. Then, it was very interesting how to control light, and then I had to reduce the holes to avoid the direct lighting, and to control during the year to avoid never the sun. But when it was finished and I did all my models on all the things, one day the sun came inside. And then what I did, it was to get aluminium piece of aluminum, lo doblé, and I put in the place with an inclination, perfect, never again. 10 years later, it was done. Because sometimes, we can try to design. We put into programs, but sometimes reality then is working with natural lighting is not easy, and also you can save the problems in easy ways. I brought my research, my PhD research was on light in architecture, and that was my first book. Is named Light in Architecture, the intangible material, what you cannot touch, intangible material. And this is another. Frederick asked me to tell you to explain this work. This is one of the most special works, most difficult works I have had in my life, because it's a chart, something that is quite difficult to do, because we have so many beautiful charts in Granada, and also because it was in a wonderful, beautiful place. And usually when I start working, I ask myself, what are the problems? Where are you working? What to do? And then here, I thought it was not problem. It was in front of the sea, wonderful place. But then I designed to build the easiest possible thing, following the tradition of the early churches. East, west, facing east, and working with light. And also, I learned something very interesting. Light was important, but also acoustic. You can see, no? Never the box. Also because here we don't have money. This was... It's very ugly to talk about money, but I think it's interesting to explain the reason of some things. Well, we also work with LSDOPA. All this is insulation. These are the working concrete and the connectors, and all this is insulation. Not a bad thing in the south of Spain when we have this weather. Not the same system is not used here, and this is the church. Also, working with concrete is good for earthquakes. That is our problems. But we have also some condition here. The condition is not you need to do with the same height as the houses of all around, 7 meters. Doing a chart with the regulation of a single house, do you think this is normal? Well, I had to do it. I just asked for the campanario, for the bell tower, the exception as something different. But then I decided to do it in a very abstract way because I don't want nobody to see how. I don't want it to look a single house. And then I also here start working with this fiber reinforced concrete to avoid in this celosia, in this control of light, because being as it was a very thin piece to put inside, the iron could be very risky, the corrosion. And then fiber. But it has not a structural function. But it was my first experience. How to prevent the possible problems, as you learn with Mutoni. How to prevent the future problems. The only place I could have this element for the acoustic was in the back. The other was not. And this is La Cripta. And also it's interesting because we have just 3 entrances of light. And we don't add any element. We just eliminate some concrete, and with this space we eliminate because the client asked me, you must understand that this is a chart, and then you need to push across. Okay? I was not going to put anything else, not using more material. Then I just did this to avoid doing nothing else, just to reducing a little bit. And, oh no tengo ninguna del interior. Oh, excuse me. A ver, no puedo ir hacia atrás. No sabe ir hacia atrás. I cannot go back. Sí, yes. Excuse me. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, I'm sorry because I want to explain that we have from the east, we have this light in the altar. From the west, we have this second light that you can check in my website that you can see. In the Sundays, en los solsticios, goes into the altar and you can project there the direct light. And the third light is this one that goes to the people who is inside, because it's it goes in the low area to the people. It is a symbol of the Trinity. The Father, the Son is the only direct light, is the only light you can see, and the Holy Spirit that goes to all the church, to the people who is there. Well, the explanation has not been very wonderful, but at least I think that the symbolic sense of light, working here with light and acoustic, and this was the reason of a lot of things. These are experimental housing, also for poor people, for myself and my friends, because this was a cooperative of 8 houses. I am go well, because vamos in time. We go in time. I don't need to run. Also, we use the same because we discovered, the price of the charge was 4,056,000 euros, less than 500,000. 4,000, yes. Less than 500,000 is not a lot for building a church. Don't you think so? Of 1,000 square meters. 1,000, half and half is not 1,000 is. Well, and then I decided, I need to do this. It was the total crisis. It was a moment, this is a cooperative with friends, in the moment where I had no work in my office, nobody, no money, no work, nothing. And we decided, a few friends, to do this. And to do it in such a cheap way that it were possible. And then, also a good thing is that experiments with yourself are better than with clients. And in this place, also this experiment was with myself. The same system, not the same system, but improving a little bit, because I have the experience of Cerrillo de Maracena, and then I knew some things that it was not possible to do. This is the place. If some of you come to Granada, you are invited. My office is very near here. The School of Architecture is there. It's just in 1,000 meters. You can have all these things. And the top is Fundación Rodríguez Acosta, and you cannot see, but the Alhambra is there. 200 meters from the house is the Alhambra. This is the entrance. Always doing this low technology, because this is very important, because for the water, to go inside the water, to avoid the water of the raining to go, and a small garden inside. Also using this system has a very good thing, that as all the concrete is working together in a monolithic way, as Candela used to do, as this building, as we can see, it was not necessary to have, and I have 8 houses with 1 pillar. It's not bad, isn't it? 8 houses with 1 pillar. And that's all. And it's good also for parking, for myself. This is my place to park. Because... And inside, the same. No any more material. It was funny, because when the builder, we ask for the budget, and they say, well, this is just the structure because it's not finished. No, it's finished. Nothing else. It's finished. It was so cheap. And, somebody thinks that it's not finished. But never mind. This is one of the houses in white, painted in white, the concrete, because some people want to live in a finished house, and this is my house. It was like this, it was finished. Something interesting. This is my bedroom, and this is, I like very much, because when I was a child, in the beach, when we used to go to have a place in the beach, we used to have a shower without roof, and then you could have the shower with the sun, And I remember that was wonderful because sometimes you have the arcoiris, the rainbow. And then I want in my own house to do this just some Sunday, and you get up later, no? Because usually it's very dark, but you can see here the sun because there is a movement in the roof, and then you have this window. And this is the inside, the non-finished house. But I must tell you that in this, sometimes when somebody asks me why is so gray, I tell them, okay, it's so great to keep greener the planet. And then, well, it's not. And I have to tell you that the only thing I have designed, I have done myself, is the table that is a glass with 4 legs. The other things are of the family. This is a painting of a good artist, Eduardo Barco. And the color is pink. But as I decide that less is better, I decided that also the presentation was going to be with less color. And all the other things are family things. One client that could not pay me and give me some furniture, things like that. But never mind, it's comfortable. Well, this is the rehabilitation that I'm going to, 10 minutes. I'm going to go very quick. Look that I'm going to be very, very, very quick. Because this is a rehabilitation, as you can see. And this school that we did this wonderful rehabilitation, it was necessary to do a pavilion, a sport pavilion, because it was just an old building. And this sport pavilion, it was in this place and it was possible to build here 6 floors. And I was asked just to build the first one, but with the possibility that in the future you can have 5 more floors. That was not an easy thing. Also because we have very bad the foundations, terrible. And then I tried with thinking how to do it in an easy way and how to do it. And then this is wrong. It's not so wide. It's higher. And then I discovered and I started working with the most sustainable material, that is timber. And this is CLT. CLT in English, I don't know. CLT. That is this kind of timber that maybe is structural and is very interesting. And then I have to learn how to work with this. And it's not easy because for 40 years, no, 40 no, I'm not so old. For 20 years, 25 years, I've been working with concrete. But now this was new for me. And then I have discovered that we are learning every day. And then I start trying to learn with concrete, with timber. And this is the material, and these are the beams. This line, white line, black line is to put inside the lighting, the artificial lighting. This is because this is the basement. This is the line of the floor outside, and this is a basement to get this height we need. And with this material being as it is very light, it was possible to build more. And it was possible. If not, it was really, in fact, it was impossible to do in another way. And we tried to do this in a very, very simple way and very, to me also has been an opportunity to learn new ways of doing things, and also very, very interesting. And this is the last project I am going to tell you, just 3 minutes. is not built yet, and is the longest project of my life. It started in 2007, 2040, another project, 2019, another project, and now the last one. Because of the same reason, this is another charge, but also the clients have no money, and we want to do something very simple and very easy to do, but without pillars inside. And then I decided to work with this wall, also because the acoustic, I think I'm late. Also because the acoustic. Okay. And then we decide to get this for getting the light, because it was a charge for the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit has the number 7, and then has 7 entrance of light. Well, it's a little bit more sophisticated. First was in concrete, then I tried to do it in timber. This is the model, and now it's like this. Because last week they told us that the price of the timber is so high that it was not possible. And then we came back, and today we did a new design in a very light structure, in three-dimensional in iron. Well, we are not in the beach, and we don't have this problem. And then we have to do all this design, because these walls, to avoid the material, we have to change the shape. And this is the last one. No, it's not the last one. Okay, we have to change the design to do it according the problem we have. And the best possible charge is the one my clients can pay. And after more than 14 years, I think that is the moment to do that. Well, I will finish in perfect time with this sentence that is from Margarita Yourcenar. It's not an architect, but it's also very useful for us. Is that in the short course of our lives, it's mandatory to choose between the tireless hope and the careful lack of it. And I will invite you to this hope of changing the culture of building, of trying to do things, saving resources, because maybe the rich countries, the rich people is not going to suffer the problems of the planet in the few generations, in the first 2 generations. But I must tell you that in a lot of places nowadays, they are suffering so much. And we must be concerned about that. And then I invite you, all of you who are here, to help with a small grain of sand, but help for doing this in this peaceful way of changing things. And thank you very much for your attention. If you have some question, not so much time.
You can keep it. Yeah? You can keep it. You can keep it. Okay. So I have one. Thanks a lot for this really amazing presentation. So now we are open for the questions. So who wants to start? Quelqu'un veut commencer? Okay, so I can start, perhaps. So we have seen that you work a lot and you are a lot of concern also about engineering. So my question is, what is your relation with civil engineer? Okay, I'm engineer, that's why also I ask, but it's also nice to have your opinion about that. At which phase you start working with them? And how do you include this concern about seismic, about also the light way of your architecture, because it should be challenging also for engineers?
Well, in Spain, we in architecture, we learn to calculate, and we have this possibility of calculation of our own work. And then for easy things, concrete and all these things, we work ourselves. I must to tell you that Felix Candela was an architect, was not an engineer. But now, for the difficult things, I work with engineers. And now with my design, my research, and I must tell you that now I propose a research project with new shapes and new ways of working with fiber reinforced concrete, and all of them, but me and my team, all of them are engineers from Italy, Switzerland, and Barcelona. And now I am learning so much. I have good friends, engineers, but it's not alone. It's not a long time, because engineers are other galaxy from us. Good people.
You think so?
Yes, yes. And you can learn a lot of things. I learn a lot, and I am learning because, and also something is very important. We must go together. We cannot just do forms and no, we must work together. It's the only way of changing things. If you don't go to learning with other people, you only can do what you know to do. The only way to go ahead, and they also need us, I must tell you.
For sure. Okay, thank you.
If somebody wants, later I will tell you why.
Not with me.
Well, later I will
Later.
tell you.
Ok, est-ce qu'il y a des questions? Ouais,
Hi. So it's very interesting to see that you started your presentation talking about beauty, and then you showed lots of constructive solutions to architectural problems. So we saw a lot of concrete, a lot of light playing with that concrete surfaces, all those things that we architects love. But how do you talk about this beauty with your clients? Because you seem to have a very close relationship with your clients. But how do you talk about this beauty, this kind of beauty that maybe nobody can appreciate?
Well,
Maybe I'm asking this question to Elisa, the teacher, because there's some sort of teaching that you have to do when you talk about these issues.
it's very, very interesting question, because I usually don't talk of beauty with my clients. I talk with them of economy, of functionality, on all these things, but I usually don't, because at least in Spain, talking about beauty is taboo. It's taboo. You don't talk about that. It is not. But, and also it's not something that you look for, and this is in the things. And what I try to do is trying to do things as simple as possible, as clear as possible, trying to do, and if this is right, it will be beauty. It will be beautiful. But I try to invite them to not put too many things, to avoid the ornaments, to avoid just to get the light to play inside the spaces and all these things. And I have to tell you that I don't have so many clients. But, some of them, yes, I have. Thank you.
Yes, well, I know your work really well, but I wanted to ask you, of course, you have a side where you work really close with beauty, but as Federico was saying, you also have like a really technical and like you are always trying to solve problems. But when beauty comes to get to solve the problems, like how are you capable to detach both of them, or is it a process that both come together and beauty like kind of like follows also the problem that you are trying to resolve? Because it's true that as an architect, we always talk about light, about beauty, about like an aesthetic kind of like approach. But it's interesting to see how in your work, like it's not just about finding beauty, it's also all the rest of the topics that you don't talk to your probably that you talk with your clients that achieve kind of like the beauty at the end. But are they like at some point like detached, or how do you like work with them together?
Well, I think that solving problems, solving human problems, sometimes one of the main problems of people is the lack of beauty. We need beauty for living, for, to have to rest, to get this space, friendly space. And this is a need, but I cannot tell them this. But also, well, I think that is something that it goes together. It goes together that also I work with in hospital, and the small refurnishment on hospital, and here is very important how to do this human space, trying to avoid this conventional way of working of hospitals trying to do things in a different way. But I feel that this solving problem is not, you cannot separate, because that's why this theory of diamond. What is more necessary? Water of diamond. Okay, maybe the price of diamonds is higher, but water is what we need. Architecture is both water and diamond. And I will like to give for the same price diamonds. For the same price, because you don't pay the light, natural lighting, this energy. I try my best, but I have a lot of mistakes. Lot of mistake and not a lot of clients. But I enjoy. And I am very happy of being today with you sharing all these things. That Frederick, that he didn't know me, brought me. And I'm glad that it didn't go to spam. I'm surprised. But going to this place that I've never been. I'm very glad.
Is there no other questions?
Thank you very much for this fantastic presentation. I was wondering, you didn't talk about recycling. Obviously, you were talking about trying to use in the future recycled plastic and everything. Sometimes I find I'm an interior architecture, so it's very hard to make cheap with recycled. It's very often more expensive because labor is probably more expensive here than material. How do you try to push for cheap, recycled,
Yes.
less material?
Yes. Sometimes what I try to do is to reuse. As you have seen in my own house, I try to reuse things, if possible, not to reuse, not just to recycle, to reuse. And my research team is is urban recycling and efficient housing. And then I think that this is one first step with all this I told you that we have produced. And I have some projects, but not in this case that is very clear, this, what you say, no? But sometimes we think that new things are cheaper than recycled things, but we must also think in the ecological cost. But the best thing is to use less if possible. The most sustainable thing is not to recycle, is to use less. If you can achieve what you need, if you can solve the problem with less, not more. And this is something that it could be very smart, trying to work with less.
Thanks. Last question. Then you can ask also around the apéro. We will be there. Or she will be there. Is there any question? The last one?
If for once money was plenty for a nice project, what would be your dream project? You've done schools, you've done churches, you've done residential. What would you like to work on?
Well, in this moment, to solve the problem of this last project, it will be my next project. I don't know what is the future. In fact, I would like to develop system because for the develop this with this research project I am doing is trying to develop a new system for low cost, low energy concrete building system that could say that let me dream, that could help to do a good housing for all the developing countries. Quite enough. But let me dream in the better future, because for sure it's not Europe what needs to build more. In the next years, we have done a lot. We have plenty of buildings. One building for every two and a half person in Europe. Well, or 3 person, but something so amazing. I think that, well, but at the moment, to build the church with less than 6, well, I have just 1 million for doing a big church. It's not a lot.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks for your last word. I think we can close this presentation with that. Thanks again, Elisa, for your presentation. It was really nice to have you here. On peut l'applaudir, je crois. Merci. Donc j'aimerais encore remercier le public et la technique pour aujourd'hui. Et je vous souhaite une bonne soirée à toutes et à tous. Vous avez l'apéro qui est ici. Vous pouvez poser encore plein de questions si vous voulez. En tout cas, quelques-unes. Et à très bientôt pour la prochaine conférence à la Maison de l'Architecture. Merci.